I did. I'm Hannah Davis. I'm the program director at MergeLane. My email is just hannah@mergelane.com, and I'm a great contact if you guys have any additional questions after this regarding the application or MergeLane or anything. I can help you with that.
Great. Thanks, Hannah. And hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Sue Heilbronner. I'm one of the co-founders of MergeLane, and we're going to dive in with a short informational program, just a quick deck on the key elements of MergeLane. I imagine many of you already know these. I'm going to go very, very quickly, so if you have questions, great. But it's just a good level set to be sure we're all on the same page. So hold on a sec. I've got to clear all this stuff. You should be able to see my screen for that application. Hannah just confirmed that we're good.
Yep.
Oddly, I cannot get rid of chat and everything else on it. Okay, great. Super. There we go. So I think most of you know that MergeLane is we are an investment accelerator. So that, I think, is starting to become a more defined term. We make investments in companies and offer them a 12-week program packed with incredible curriculum, unbelievable mentors, and just a program to help radically accelerate their business. As I expect most of you know, we focus on companies that have at least one female in leadership. We'll talk about that in a moment. The team is here. We're a 3-person team, pretty lean. We have another couple hundred mentors and speakers that work with us, but the actual management team for our program is extremely lean. So I'm the CEO of MergeLane, and I come to the program with a legal background and also a background in operating a series of primarily tech-enabled startups, both B2C and B2B. My primary role at MergeLane is to work closely with the teams. I mentor companies, I consult with companies all over the world, and that's kind of the expertise that I bring to this program, is helping companies make the decisions that will amplify and accelerate their progress through our program and after our program. Elizabeth Krause is a co-founder of MergeLane as well. She is primarily involved in the fundraising elements for the program. Many of you may not know that accelerators are really investment funds as well as this curricular program. Elizabeth is primarily, if not exclusively, responsible for raising money for the MergeLane funds, which are the things that allow us in companies like yours, and she also is extremely involved in generating investment interest for our teams during the program and after the program, and she's very well connected in that regard, and we've worked extremely hard to expand on an already large network for this purpose. Hannah is our program director. She spoke to you just a moment ago. Hannah essentially runs our program. She runs every element of our program. Anyone who engages with us either at the application stage for sure, at the participation stage, probably will have most contact with Hannah. So any questions you have at this stage, please direct to Hannah. Her expertise, I think, is in really building community, ensuring that our operations are functioning in a way that serves the teams and the mentors and other stakeholders in the way that makes the most sense. And she's been just an amazing, amazing contributor to this team. Okay, so in terms of our program design, we have designed a program that allows companies with a more diverse set of leaders in all kinds of ways to attend a program. So this is a 12-week full-time program, but only 3 weeks are required to be in residence in Boulder, Colorado. Our curriculum is very, very typical and in line with the best regarded accelerators in the world. We are dealing with issues that allow companies from a business perspective to optimize their market opportunity, their product market fit, their strategy long-term, and their short-term tactical approach to the phase they're in. And we also deal with a few issues that we think women leaders uniquely face as part of what we do. We actively discover companies. If you're on the phone with us, there's a really good chance you've heard from us. We just think that so far companies with a woman in leadership aren't as actively pursuing accelerator programs. We talked about the reduced residency requirement, you would be required to be in Boulder physically during the first 2 weeks, which start February 1st of 2016, and the last week, which ends April 23rd, I think is demo day, of the program here in Boulder, Colorado. I don't think we need to spend time on this issue. Key dates, most of you probably know our application is open. We have a lot of time between the open date and the program start date. We understand that. That was intentional. We want to operate on a rolling admissions basis. So the sooner you finalize your application, the sooner you will be in flow for consideration. I expect that we will have between 3 and 5 companies out of our 10 signed before the application close date. So please just get that application complete. Perfect is the enemy of the great. So make sure it's great, but don't wait till November 23rd to make it absolutely perfect. Our program starts February 1st. Sorry, our demo day is April 22nd. And we're going to talk about criteria, but we really want to note that, well, I'll get to that. Okay, I think we talked about all of these things, except that I have an inconsistent date. Is it the 23rd or the 22nd, Hannah?
The 22nd.
Okay, great.
It's a Friday.
I have to fix that because we're not going to have demo day on Saturday. Our program is industry agnostic, so you don't have to be a tech company to be accepted, and we will accept 10 teams for our 2016 program year. Great. Here are our criteria, and happy to field questions on these. As I said, one person in leadership must be a female. So a credible person in leadership with leadership and authority, usually that's a co-founder. That doesn't have to be. We prefer companies that haven't raised $2 million or more, that we don't hear that issue very often. In terms of traction, this one comes up a lot. We want to see some evidence of traction. We are not going to accept companies that are just an idea. So we're looking for proof of concept, whether that's buy into a product, even if it's pre-revenue. It could be revenue, it could be contracts, it could be strategic partnerships. We just want some evidence that this project is moving along. Scale. You need to have a scalable business model. And what that means is an investable business model. So we generally are not going to take a hard look at consulting companies because we don't think they can scale. If every time you add revenue, you have to add a person, that's an indication that you may not have a scalable business. There's nothing wrong with that. A hardware store, all sorts of businesses are not scalable, but are fantastic businesses. That's just a definition that we believe is important as a criterion. Verticals will accept companies in any industry. We talked about location. You can be anywhere in the U.S. I think we should change this because I think we'd also accept companies around the world. We have some interest from other countries and did last year as well. Last, the most important thing we care about is that you're awesome. One of the things in one of the videos we request, a 1-minute video in our application, just ask the companies to talk about the founders. Really tell us about who you are and why you're doing this. We really do care about why you're involved, and I would say team is, without a doubt, it's kind of 3 out of the 5 most important criteria for our teams. Financial structure. We invest $20,000 at the top program. That check comes half when we accept your team and then half when you arrive in Boulder for the first day. We are granted 6% equity in exchange for that check and participation in the program. And we have an opportunity to make follow-on investments in companies. That usually happens during the program or after the program. And we have the opportunity to invest up to $100,000 in those companies. If we were to do that, that would typically be as part of a round that the company is already raising, and we would come in on those terms. Most of you should know our inaugural class, and we've had some really nice progress. All of our teams have established and consistent mentors that have stayed involved. Most of the teams that have been raising money have been successful in raising all or part or all of their round, and we've seen some revenue progression across many of our teams. We can talk specifically about these teams later if anyone has a question on that. We recently were honored to be selected by the Small Business Administration the U.S. government decided that one way to enhance the small business or startup ecosystem in this country is to fund top-tier accelerators. So we recently won an award for the SBA's Growth Accelerator competition. We were extremely psyched about that. Here are all our email addresses. I do think Hannah is your first contact. There's phone numbers here too, but I prefer you contact us by email. And that's a little bit about MergeLane. So why don't we jump over, and I'll stop sharing my screen, right, Hannah? Mm-hmm. Great. And let's jump over and field any questions, and we can unmute people who want to raise their hands, and I'll turn off my phone. Sorry about that.
Here's some questions from Jennifer.
Great. Okay. Jennifer Peters asked, given the, and by the way, you guys, we want all of you to ask questions. Hannah, I'm kind of psyched if we can to unmute people and let them ask their questions. Yeah. So Grace, you have your hand raised. If you still want to have your hand raised, let us know. If not, you can unraise it, I think, by clicking on that same button. Okay, Jennifer's questions. Given the cohort from last year, is there anything that we look at differently in terms of accepting firms this year? Wow, I think the answer to that is we had a lot less time last year than we do this year to look at teams. We did not spend as much time ensuring that teams had really thought through their financial model. And at some level, I think that's not that relevant for startups or companies at this level, just because it's pretty difficult to do clear financials when you're in this phase of a business. But I think we'll spend more time on that and be sure that companies have a clear sense of what their path to revenue and profitability is. I think we'll look more at what people have done before. That doesn't apply to everyone. There are a couple of applications we already have for people who are graduated from college this term. So not everyone's got a really long track record. But just being sure that the mindset is consistent with creating a startup. One of the things I think about a lot is that, you know, startups have become kind of sexy. There's a lot of glamour associated with creating a startup, and it's not for everyone. So I think one of the things I really want to test on is a startup for the person who's applying with a startup. Single founders continue to be a concern for us, and every now and then we will find, every now and then, I don't think we had any single founders in our last class. I think that's going to continue to be a worry for us. Saga. Right, we had one, yeah. And just because there's a lot of risk, so I think that's still a factor. Let's go to Jennifer's next question. Success rate to date. We can't be too specific on this because the companies guard that data pretty well. I think I'd say kind of 4 or 5 out of our companies are progressing in a way that we feel extremely good about it. A couple are, a couple are in the fair category, and one is in the more worrisome category. I don't think that has much to do with anything but what sector that person's in and some other issues. So yeah, unfortunately I can't get too specific, but I think the teams feel very good about this experience, and I think they're progressing. Again, at least you know what the data are for how startups fare in general. I think our teams are faring better, certainly, than the average of what we'd expect for this time later after the accelerator, and we'll see. Any other questions that you see?
What if you are a single founder with a team of people helping on a contract basis?
Yeah, great question. Can we find out who that is?
Sari.
Sari, and can we unmute Sari?
She said she's in a spot she can't.
Okay.
Speak verbally.
Sarah, I mean, I think that we'd be happy to talk about that. We really like people to have a co-founder. So I think the first step is, does the business feel interesting? And if the business and you feel great to us, I think one of the things we might want to talk about is, okay, well, how do we leverage our current contract network and think about create, you know, is there a co-founder in that contract network, or is there another co-founder? So I would not, on any of these criteria, I would not assume that any of them is a no. If they're not black and white. It's multi-factor. If we love the business, if we love the founder, if we love you, Sari, then I think that we'd be talking in more depth about how we could get comfortable with that issue, and the likely scenario is that we could.
All right, from Vanessa, how does the mentorship work during the 9 weeks that you do not have to be in Colorado, and do all the team members have to be there for the first 3 weeks?
Great. First question, the program is full-time. The way mentors are going to work is you're going to have 2 weeks of speed dating. Thanks for asking this question. There'll be a speed dating process where every team will meet between 30 and 40 mentors. It's radically uncomfortable, including for us, having to organize all those people and all those meetings and finding conference room space. But anyway, so you meet a lot of people. At the end of that 2 weeks, we're going to figure out what the matches are, compatibility based on expertise of the mentors, focus of the business, and just personal fit, which is a big part of it. You'll sometimes get great mentoring from people who don't know your industry because they're just a great fit for you personally. We would expect, although it's up to you, that you're going to want to meet with those mentors once a week. That would be for an hour, max an hour. That's what we ask the mentors to commit to. Many of them will give you more time if you need it, and that'll generally be remote. So we had teams, half our teams were from other places in the country, and those mentor meetings proceeded in WebEx just like this meeting, or whatever on conference calls, because it was just 2 people. Next question, what was her other question?
Do all the team members have to be here for the first 2 weeks?
Yeah, we want co-founders to be here. I think that's a great question. Again, get tired of this. I don't have a yes or no answer to that. Definitely all the team members don't have to be, but my preference is that any of the co-founders would need to be here, unless there was a good reason that they could not be here. One other question under that question is, would we expect the founder or co-founders to be working full-time on this business? And the answer to that is yes. It's certainly as of the start of the accelerator. What else you got?
Do you consider awards via competitions or other validation from entrepreneurship community as traction?
Sorry, my water bottle looks gigantic in that picture. Yeah, I do. Great question. Look, everything is traction. Like a letter from your mom is traction, whatever. I mean, one of our entrepreneurs we took because people from all over the community kept saying, like, this person is extraordinary. You should really, really pay extra attention to this person. So all of that is traction. Also, if there's something else that you've done before that had traction, and this is a second thing that makes sense given the first thing, then we might accept less traction for the new thing based on the old thing. So there are tons of factors. I think we say this again and again and again. If there is doubt, please apply. We want to establish a relationship with the companies and with you all. So the other thing we know is that women tend to not apply out of doubt about whether they fit the criteria in a way that we think is exaggerated. We want to hear from you. Assume that even if you don't fit 2 of the criteria, we still want to hear from you. Anything else?
Not yet.
Really? Other questions in our information session? Hannah, what's another good question you hear a lot?
There's often, question around the time, I guess you kind of touched about this, around full-time versus, how you're going to be able to work on your business while going through an accelerator. And there's some concerns sometimes around the timing of being full-time.
Yeah. The program is extremely involved. So, it's going to be a really, really involved program, and you'll be working on and in the business at the same time. And just because it isn't a full-time residential program, I think it is extremely demanding. I think most of our entrepreneurs would say that the 12 weeks of MergeLane were some of the hardest times, or they've worked harder than they've worked at almost any other time. I think that's true, and I think that's the goal.
Yeah, and it's important to us that your businesses run as well. So we do take that into consideration and understand that you have a business run while being in the program. but with the expectation that you're fully present.
Great. What else?
Would you guys recommend a place to stay in Colorado? Yeah, I can work with all the teams on any logistics in terms of coming here for the first 2 weeks and staying. Our program's done right downtown. It's in an off season in Boulder, so it's pretty easy to get Airbnb and places to stay, and that's something I'll help anyone with.
What other questions do I have?
We just made our whole FAQ.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Another question that comes up sometimes, if you have, your company may be organized, you may not have raised money yet, you may have. We strongly prefer that companies be organized as C Corps and not as LLCs or S Corps. So it's not that, I think that's something for everyone to keep in mind. I think that's true anytime a company is looking to raise money. So it's wise to think ahead on that. I think another thing that comes up a lot is this notion of being sure that you have a lawyer available already to your company at this phase. I wouldn't wait too long for that. MergeLane has, pretty diligent. We have detailed documents. It's an investment that we're making, so you'd want to have a lawyer ready to comment.
All right, now we got some more here.
Yeah.
What if you are an S Corp? Will that discount our chances? We have a lawyer and accountant.
Great. No, it won't discount your chances, but we may ask you to become a C Corp before the program starts. So that's the only thing I'd say. I mean, that's not for sure true, but it's likely. But don't do anything yet. I mean, a lot of this stuff. Just know that this isn't. Yeah, I just thought about this. Great. Let's talk a little bit about the admission process. And Hannah, let's just make a note to add this to this deck, how the process is going to be handled. Because I can imagine that some of you guys might think this is like kind of college admissions where you apply and then you're wondering, am I going to get a thick letter or am I going to get a thin letter? That's not what this is like. So this is a really involved process. Our plan we're going to take first wave of applications. They're already coming in. We already have a decent number of applications that are finalized. We're going to review those every week, starting probably next week, finalized applications, and we're going to start doing interviews with the companies. So you guys, any of you who start an interview with us at any time are going to have ample opportunity to ask a lot of questions, and we're going to ask you a lot of questions. So nobody's just going to get an acceptance by email. There'll be multiple interviews with us, the MergeLane team, and also probably with a few mentors who we think have expertise in your business. I hope that helps.
All right. With 6% equity, what does your participation with our company look like after the program's over?
Funny. It looks like a lot of phone calls, we're pretty engaged with a number of our companies still. I mean, just for example, on Saturday of Labor Day weekend, one of our CEOs, who's incredibly capable, wanted some advice on terminating somebody who's just not a good fit. It happens to be kind of well known in our community. So on Sunday of Labor Day weekend, we talked about how to best handle that in a way that would be good for this person and also good for the company, and came up with some solutions for that. My drive back from Labor Day weekend, I got a call from another one of our CEOs who's negotiating a strategic partnership with a branding agency, and wants some help on deal points and how to think about negotiating that resolution. Elizabeth is extremely involved still in generating fundraising leads and fielding questions from investors in our companies, in our portfolio companies. Today, I'm meeting with one of our portfolio investors to walk and talk about the 3 companies that he made an investment in. So, look, we have an investment in all of the companies that participate in this program. The way we make money as a program and as, frankly, as individuals, is returns on investment that we've made in these companies. So we have a vested, aligned interest in staying involved. And we're going to stay involved as much as you guys want us to, which frequently is a lot and sometimes is not that much. I hope that helps.
If we are an LLC, would you ask us to become a C Corp as well?
Almost certainly. But again, there's plenty of time for that. That's like a 10-minute task, so it's not a really big deal, unless it is, in which case we could talk about it. We had one company was in the middle last year. They were an LLC, and they were in the middle of raising a fairly significant round of capital, which is unusual for an LLC, but that's what they were doing. So we didn't ask them to flip during that round. It would have been too complicated. So sometimes there are extenuating circumstances, but in general, one of the things we find is investors do not want to get K-1s anymore. So most sophisticated investors will not invest in an LLC. So that, again, we're not really outliers on this. We're just giving you the general approach investors take, and we're just an investor in that discussion. What else you got?
How do you become a mentor?
We have a form, right, on our website. We have a form on our website under, if you click contact, you'll go down and there is a link to a forum that asks a series of questions for prospective mentors. We're pretty full of mentors, just as an FYI, but always looking to expand our network for people who we think can fill gaps in our network of mentors. So that's how.
When do you expect to have final decisions finished and announced to your next cohort?
Yeah, I'm going to separate those questions. So we probably will have some teams finalized, but we will not be allowing them to announce that during this calendar year. So that might be late October, November, and December. We will probably have all of our teams accepted. I forgot, what's our drop dead date?
January 7th or the 14th?
Yeah, the first or second week of January, we will have our full class accepted and finalized, documented, and we will announce our teams the week before February 1st. So during the last week of January, we'll issue a press release and have an event that the teams won't have to be at. The next week, the teams will be at an event where people can meet them.
So 2 video questions. One, do you want to see all the team members in the videos? And the other was, describe the best videos you've seen in applications.
That's a great question. Who's that?
That was Laura. Asked the second one.
Laura, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do I want to see all? Well, I mean, if somebody's really important in your company, it'd be nice to see them in the video. I know it's just a minute, so that's kind of hard to deal with, and you may have geographic issues that make that hard to deal with. It's not mandatory. We want to just get a feel for the personality of your business. So decide. There's no hard and fast rule. The other thing is, be creative in these videos. Again, that doesn't mean like high production values, but it just may be like, how can you communicate what you guys are about by how you do this video? Not just what you say, but how you do it. Helps us see you, and that's really all we're trying to do, is to get a feel for you. Yeah, I hope that helps. What was it? All the two. Oh, best videos. Best videos.
I don't think of them.
One of my favorite videos was done for another. They don't have a female founder, but it's a company I'm invested in. And they did a video for a different program, and it's a clothing company, and they basically did a scene. It's a clothing company that does really outrageous clothing for college theme parties. So what they did is they sort of staged a college theme party, and the founders were in the party, and everybody was wearing clothes from the company, and it was just funny. You know, it was hilarious, and told us about who they were and what their sense of humor is and their level of commitment, because it was fairly outrageous. But really, just authenticity is a really big thing for us and for me. And I mean, really, I would say that's the most common thing, is how can you really just be authentic, show up, and give us a feel genuinely for why you're doing this, why it matters to you. That'd be great.
Could you recommend any platforms which we could go to in order to find potential co-founders we could collaborate with, like cofounderslab.com?
Yes. Avanti. The other thing to think about is Startup Weekend. And the other thing to think about, can we unmute Avanti? Avanti, can you talk? Can you chat back to us? Are you in a place where you could talk?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, yeah, thanks.
Thanks for answering that.
Yeah. Where are you located?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, wonderful. And what's your business?
So it's a picture book company for legal content. It's an adult, a picture books for adults. So it's a new concept merging legal content and pictorial summaries of legal content.
Okay, you don't mean like legal content like habeas corpus. You mean content that is legal and not violating copyright?
Correct. So it's there's 3 market segments: one for law students, one for everyday people, and one for socioeconomically disadvantaged. So if they don't have access to lawyers, it's just going to be like a 70-page book to basically just tell them what their rights are, where to go, and what to do.
You do mean legal content. Okay, great. Super. Okay. And your answer is co-founders.
Yes.
Boy, Kristen, Avanti, if I were you, A, Startup Weekend is a great place to find co-founders. B, Los Angeles is a great place to find co-founders. So if I were you, I'd be going to look at what are the companies that are like yours. So let's think about Zoom, which has parallels, right, to what you're up to. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Sure. And then there's companies like Pixoto or I can't remember all those dumb, there's a million photo book projects. Then there's print on demand companies like Squarespace, owned by Amazon.
Yep.
All of those companies that got acquired all had people early on that were entrepreneurial and cared a lot and have left because they didn't want to work in a big company.
Right.
That would be a great research project for you.
Yeah, great.
And I don't know, we haven't talked long enough. We talk longer if we were in an interview, but think about what your expertise is, what you bring to the party, and what could really be beneficial as a complementary skill set or area of expertise to add into your business. That's how I would think about that. And go find them.
Absolutely. No, that's great advice. And I think I kind of was thinking about that, but I just needed someone to kind of point me in the right direction, because you just don't know who to trust and who to kind of let go in terms of letting them kind of steer the ship as well. So no, thanks for that advice. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I want to say something else. Like, you're probably not going to want to add a co-founder, based on 2 phone calls, right? So, but you might be able to say in the context of this application process that I've identified these 2 people. One came from Squarespace and the other one came from LegalZoom early on, and they're really super interested. They're willing to sign on as advisors right now, which is great. And I'm not making a commitment to them, but we're in the dating process, right? Like, that would be extremely compelling for us. And also just seeing that you were able to resource people like that and to find them and to get them excited and to get their validation of what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even just seeing that process would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that answers my question as well, in terms of if we're just kind of talking and nothing's really written in stone, is that okay for the application? So that's great advice.
Awesome. Thanks for asking.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The next question is, can we submit additional documentation not requested with the application?
Is there an area where there is an area where they can submit additional docs, isn't there? In the app?
I think there is. We'll check on that.
Yeah, and if not, you can always email Hannah at MergeLane or hello@mergelane.com and just in the subject line say additional docs. But I do think there is a question in the app that allows you to do that, so check that first.
What if one of the team members is graduating with a master's in December and can come on board then? Can we have the video without them?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Anything else?
Any other questions? Anyone want to raise their hand and ask the question audibly? Dana, I got your note about connecting, and we will do that. So I'll respond to that, and that'll work out fine for us to have a separate discussion. Again, use Hannah at MergeLane or hello at MergeLane to have any other additional questions answered. All right.
That's it then. All right.
Well, wait. How to use the audible?
Oh, we'll unmute you.
We'll have to unmute you. Yeah, hold on. Rebecca, go ahead. Hold on. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Okay, thanks. I thank you very much for your response about the having a team member who legally can come on after her school semester ends in December. So she's a master's computer science student, and the school doesn't permit them to work on the side while they're a student, except in the summer. But now I have another question. I noticed on the form that you have a spot for recommenders. Who are we supposed to get as recommenders? Hello?
Anyone? Yeah, I mean, I think anyone you think could be helpful. So you don't have to get anyone as a recommender, but if there's someone who's worked with you or worked with your business or, you know, would have good insight about what that experience is like or how you know, it could be an investor, it could be a mentor.
No, I mean, it doesn't have to be, I just meant it doesn't have to be from the startup world, in other words.
No.
The people do not have to be drawn from the startup world.
You're correct. It does not have to become. It does not have to come from the startup world.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Thank you very much. This has been really helpful. Thank you.
Sure, Rebecca. Thanks. Okay. Anyone else? Raise your hand. Send a chat. Going once, going twice. Great being with you all. Feel free to contact us anytime and look forward to seeing your applications. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.